I just said a horse in the fight.
Horse in the fight.
Fighting.
Oh, I like it. Does it have a top hat?
Well, no, it's like bare knuckle boxing. Like they're doing it like with like mustaches. And,
Like Queensberry Rules.
Yeah.
I like it.
What is going on, everybody? I'm Adam Johnson, and this is Cover Band Confidential. The conversation you're about to hear comes from episode 135 of the Cover Band Confidential podcast, where we discuss 8 items in the used musical instrument market that have increased in value over the course of 2020. A lot of these are kind of no-brainers, but a few of them I was kind of surprised by. Just wanted to remind you to hit like and subscribe for more content like this. And with that out of the way, let's get into it.
Yep. Now, speaking of gear, you had some things you wanted to talk about.
If any of you subscribe to Reverb's mailing list, they sent out a very interesting article that basically is just some trends that they noticed this year as far as used gear and the things that kind of popped off and increased in value over the course of 2020. And so they sent a list of 8 things that hit that criteria. And some of it was very obvious and stuff that we have kind of hit on in previous episodes, but some of them were kind of surprising. And it was just an interesting piece of data that I thought would be fun to discuss. So without further ado, here are the 8 things that have increased in value in the used market according to Reverb.com. Number 1, total no surprise. Entry level and beginner guitars and basses.
Totally.
What we had said previously, as far as the market has gone, Fender and Gibson have seen unprecedented growth this year, and it makes perfect sense because everybody's at home and trying to find stuff to do.
Picking up new hobbies.
If you got nothing but time, might as well finally pick up the guitar and learn those 3 chords that you've been dying to learn.
Yep.
And of course, in the used market, you're getting more value typically because you're getting something that would retail at a higher price for a significantly lower price.
Yep.
So you're hitting different price points.
Yeah, I strongly recommend used for people starting out for, that you can get a really cheap beginner guitar new that is a piece of junk. You can spend a little bit, not much, but a little bit on a new beginner guitar and have it be decent. Or You can spend a little bit on a used one and have it be quite decent.
And, the practice gear market has gotten it's been amazing to see the kind of growth as far as product design and innovation in that world. Santa brought a little thing called the Nux Mighty Plug, and it is one of the most impressive pieces of gear I have ever seen in a sub $100 price point. It is so good that I will more than likely do a full review on it on the YouTube channel, and I may try and do some kind of shootout between it and some of the Line 6 stuff because I think it can hang.
It's a
it's
modeler, or what is it? What's it do?
It is a modeler. I wish I brought it down. My son has it upstairs. It's kind of like, I'm sure you've seen the Nux like wireless units where it's like basically like a bug that goes into the input jack. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same form factor roughly, but it is got there's a modeler in it. It does, I think, 5 guitar amps, 2 bass amps. It loads impulse responses. It's got effects.
Wow.
It's got a drum machine, a metronome, all of the stuff. It's got Bluetooth.
Huh.
It's damn impressive.
That's cool.
It was like $70-$80.
There you go.
Be on the lookout for that. I just have to get it out of his room long enough to play with it myself.
Yeah.
Moving along. Next thing, rare, discontinued, and hyped pedals. The used pedal market has exploded this year.
Huh.
The Klon KTR, of course. The actual Klons themselves have exploded.
Well, those have always been ridiculous.
In 2017, Klon Centaurs are, the golden goose as far as guitar pedals go. Right. In 2017, a Klon Centaur would run you just shy of $2,000, $1,861. Currently, the only 2 available on Reverb right now are going for $5,900.
Oh, man. And it's crazy. It's one of the easiest pedals to emulate.
The fact that a Klon clone...
It's a whole market.
It alone.
Yeah. Yeah, in standalone pedals, and then also it appears in every modeler in a pretty darn adequate way. But there is something about having the original one. There's some, the muff fuzz original Russian things that are crazy expensive, impossible to get your hand on. There is something about having the original metal,
Prince of Tone is another one of those that always, because of the rarity.
Yeah.
And even it's not even expensive stuff. Technically the Behringer Super Fuzz, it's doubled in price over the past 2 years, from $20 to $50.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not even just the high end stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, so the point is, if you've held on to some things and want to fund the pre-order of a Quad Cortex.
So we're moving into like the production world. 80s Roland drum machines and synths. So your 606s, your 808s, your 909s.
Sure. A lot of vintage power in those. People are doing a lot of really cool retro stuff with those.
Yeah, I mean I think the synthwave kind of vaporwave market has just kind of blown up significantly.
Yeah.
They break out the specific models of the Roland stuff, but then they go, it's like all 80s Roland synths have gone up like 40%, and all 80s drum machines have gone up like 40%, and all synths have gone up like 40%. So with the proliferation of like the stuff with like Stranger Things and a lot of these companies releasing like reissues of these classic deals, there's a bit of maybe like a rebellion against the soft synths, kind of going back to something more tactile.
Yeah.
That and they just look cool in a studio.
They do.
So there's always that.
Yeah.
Moving along, kind of staying in the realm with the throwback stuff, 80s electrics and Van Halen guitars. So you're thinking of your pointy Ibanez's and Jacksons and Charvels and Kramers, and then of course the EVH brand and the PV Wolfgangs.
Yeah.
All of which have gone up this year, unfortunately due to the loss of one of the greatest guitar players in history. I mean, this year I bought that Roland G700 and I was able to flip it for almost double my money. So
nice.
There's still a market for that. And I think the aesthetic is just something that people are getting back into.
Yeah.
Early in the year, Fender re-released the HM Strats, which have the black Strat headstock and the crazy neon colors and the Floyd roses and that kind of thing. I think the Super Strat is just kind of a fun throwback kind of concept that people are just kind of into right now. So, it's just like anything else. 5 years ago it was Duesenbergs, and this year it's 80s guitars. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, totally.
This next one, also not a very big surprise, the go-to home studio microphones. So that's going to be, in general, all used mics went up in value this year.
Yep.
But Shure definitely got the most of it. And one of the highest growth ones, Shure SM7B, up 27.74% from 2017.
Listen, buy low, sell high. I mean, these guys we might sound like crap next week. Who knows?
I mean, the current going rate for them is about $20 more than I paid for mine.
Yeah,
so
still,
I don't think the profit margin is worth letting it go.
Yeah.
The idea behind these kinds of mics is that if you can find a used SM7, you can buy it for $350 and you can sell it for $350. You can do that all day.
Yep.
So I would say the SM7 is probably one of the most stable pricing. Even with the 20% growth, we're talking about a $50 swing basically from 2017 to today.
Yeah.
So percentage-wise, it's considerable, but dollars and cents, it's not anything super wild. The next one is one that I'm kind of bummed out about just because I don't quite understand it, but Les Paul Customs, and specifically Silverbreasts. I feel like the used Gibson market is completely out of control right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. Those guitars are not $4,000, $5,000.
Certainly not. I'm a bad person to have this conversation with. I'm rarely willing to pay a sticker price on a guitar, unless it has a particular reason. I mean, the Fender Acoustasonic Tele that I gig served a particular purpose. Its form factor is unique, and I use it for that uniqueness, and it's by far the most expensive guitar I own and gig. But apart from that guitar, I've literally never owned a brand name anything that I cared that much about, and the cheap ones have done great for me. So
I've got a Les Paul. It's a Les Paul Studio. I've had it literally since 1997, and it's a great guitar. But I paid probably $700 for it,
right? And
even that one is now worth probably over $1,000. Yeah. And it is destroyed. The mahogany is showing through on the back. I completely have pulled all of the finish off the back of it. And the new ones, I feel like they are on an upward trajectory, and I feel like they're trying to do the right thing. I just think the used market right now is just kind of out of control. And I don't want to call anybody out specifically, but there is a YouTuber who's got a channel called Trogley's Guitar Show, and he specializes in vintage Gibsons. I'm not blaming him directly, but the way that he the volume that he sells at and the way that he covers that particular slice of the used market has increased the price point of all of those guitars considerably. And it's gotten so bad that even like the knockoffs are starting to go up in price. So now you're looking at like the Greco Les Pauls and the Orville Les Pauls, like the Japanese versions of these things from the late 70s and 80s. Now they're going for like roughly the same pricing, which is just insane to me.
And that was not an era of quality.
Here's the thing is that an Orville or a Greco Les Paul is a fantastic guitar compared to the Norlin era Gibson Les Pauls, which were not great.
Yeah, that's true.
So they were besting them in a lot of circumstances, but the bar wasn't quite there. Right. It wasn't that high.
Right.
Les Pauls are cool. They're just not $5,000 cool.
Right.
This one was kind of surprising to me is Tascam Proto Studios. So like cassette 4-tracks.
I mean, I had one in high school.
I never had one, but I definitely had friends who had them. Do you remember what you paid for that back in the day?
Couple hundred maybe.
That's what's been interesting about these is that like they're actually increasing in value.
That's hard to.
So the Tascam Porta Studio, the analog one, was $315 in 2017, which still feels like a lot.
Yeah. For basically a tape recorder.
Yeah. It's $426 this year.
I don't get that. When and you know, if I were like going to stand up recording from scratch, am I going to choose analog tape really in 2020? Really? Like that's just not how I'm going to go.
For $426, you could buy any DAW.
Yeah, well, and there are little hardware mixers that record to an SD card, you know, that would do exactly what that is, maybe with twice as many channels.
Oh yeah, it would do that better.
Yeah, cleaner sound, better, you know, more channels, probably effects on board that this thing's not going to have.
Or just alone of the fact that you could just take that SD card and drop it into Pro Tools or Logic or whatever.
Yeah.
Makes it infinitely a better option.
No, I mean there is a certain lo-fi charm to it, I suppose, if that's your aesthetic. But
you can make digitals sound like that. It's not that hard. It just isn't.
Yeah, but you know.
Do I? I don't know.
Do I? I don't know. I that's the only explanation I can come up with for the price is that it's somehow people see it as authentic in a way that digital isn't or something. I don't know.
I mean, I know some bigger acts that decided they were going to do their Porter Studio tape, album this year because, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
You're stuck at home, might as well make, an okay recording. So
you're going to mail tapes through the U.S. Postal Service instead of emailing stems? I mean, there's no way that's a better option even in quarantine. So
listen, I spent like over $500 this year to get a record player up and running. So right, I have absolutely no.
I get it.
I got no horse in this fight. Apparently.
And I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. If that's your thing, go for it.
Moving along, number 8. This one again goes back to something that makes a bit more sense. Is loop pedals.
Sure, totally.
The market for used loopers has got to be through the roof because you can't play with your buddies. You might as well jam with yourself.
Yep.
Lay a little progression down and noodle away.
Yep.
The top ones are going to be your TC Ditto,
yes.
all the Boss loopers, your EHX, and surprisingly enough, the Line 6 DL4 is still increasing in value.
Wow.
15% this year in the resale market. The DL4 was old when I was playing professionally 15 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and it looks it. I mean, it's not a modern looking piece of gear.
But again, that's another one of those like it sounds away.
Yeah,
it's got that reverse function that everybody really, really digs.
And it's a tank. You can't kill it, so it'll be around forever probably.
You can kill them, and that was one thing that they did have issues with is that the switches were mounted directly to the PCB, but then you have these guys like JHS and these other companies that retrofitted them with different switches and kind of reconstituted them, and now that is its own secondary market on top of
even more valuable, right? The modified.
Well, and they were like adding additional memory to them, or like making the delays twice as long, or the looping twice as long. So
nice.
They were one of the early like modded pedals that kind of like broke out in that whole realm. I remember hearing about that a lot. Well, that does it. There's our 8.
All right. Well, if you have any of those, now's the time to either hold or sell.
Yeah, hold or sell, but don't buy.
Don't buy. Unless it's essential to your process, in which case,
sure,
get ready to spend.
Yeah. Or don't use reverb and find it on Craigslist.
Right, or people don't know what they have.